But whatever happens, we'll be ready.
In a year filled to the brim with sequels, it was only inevitable that we got another Dungeons & Dragons movie. Though this isn't a sequel, it's a reboot, but I digress. So, I am not a D&D fan. I don't play the game. I think I probably played it maybe once or twice in high school, but that was about it. The 80s show, I've seen the 80s show, the animated show, and it's pretty decent. The original 3 movies. I've seen the first 2. I saw the original 2001 with Jeremy Irons, and that was awful. And then the second one, Wrath of the Dragon God, was bad, but it was better. I haven't seen the third one, The Book of Vital Darkness, I think it's called, but I've heard that one. I hear those are just supposed to be, each one gets better, so I'm assuming it's a little better than Wrath of the Dragon God. But that doesn't mean much. I'm assuming it's pretty bad. So, and judging from the reviews and everything that I've seen, they're pretty bad. Or, it's pretty bad. I've seen the other 2, but... And when I saw the early reviews for this, at first I kind of rolled my eyes. Because on the tomato meter, 91%. But again, because I'm like, really? Like, 91% for freaking Dungeons & Dragons? You're joking. No, this is very good, actually. This is another freaking Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, where I saw it getting overwhelmingly positive reviews. I rolled my eyes and said, are you freaking serious? And then I watched the movie and ended up eating my own words, because this was a very fun movie. And this is what Hollywood's been missing a lot nowadays, is fun. They're too focused on shoving an agenda in your face that they forget to have fun. And that's what this movie is. Mostly. I didn't do a rant on this, but the directors and writers for some reason decided to confirm that they liked emasculating the male characters in this movie to make the female ones look better, or to make them look stronger, and that's becoming a problem in Hollywood, and it's definitely apparent here, because Chris Pine is supposed to be the main character, and he kind of does jack shit. He's kind of useless in the adventure as a whole, except for the guy who gives the pep talk. But had I not known this, I would have just seen it as, oh, he's the main character, but he's also kind of the comic relief. But that kind of tainted my view of that while I was watching the movie. But pretty much everything in this movie still worked. Almost everything. I want to get into the good stuff first, because it's mostly good stuff. So first of all, the acting, it's phenomenal across the board. Chris Pine makes for a very likable lead. Michelle Rodriguez does very well. Justice Smith, who I haven't seen in anything since, he had a cameo in Jurassic World Dominion, but last thing I saw him starring in was Detective Pikachu. And he's really good in this role. Hugh Grant plays one of the villains, and he's pretty good. I don't recognize the other actors. I think the kid who plays Pine's daughter in this, I think she was the same one who played Adam Driver's daughter in 65 that I just reviewed about a week ago. And she does pretty good. She's not in the movie a ton, but she does her role very well. I like the shapeshifter. I'm already forgetting people's names. Like, I remember most of it. It's like Dorsey or something, or Dulcie or something like that. But yeah, so the acting is phenomenal across the board, and I like all these characters. All these characters, at least the heroes, are incredibly likable. I especially like the badass dude that they come across, who helps them obtain the helmet. And my only issue is that they should have kept him around. He leaves after that one part of the heist. He just leaves. And then he comes back at the very end for like 10 seconds. But again, he was a cool character for the limited time he had. The story is incredibly fun. It's basically just a heist mission until the last 15 minutes when they kind of shove a extra climax in there, but I'll get into that in a second, because I want to do a small bit of spoilers, just because there are just a couple of things I want to talk about that are spoilery, because they involve the ending of the movie. So yeah, I'll leave that off the side, but this is mostly just a heist movie, and I do like I like these kinds of heist movies. It reminds me a lot of something like Ant-Man, where it was very reminiscent of it. And the action sequences are outstanding. Especially during the sword fighting sequences, they are incredibly well shot. They don't do a bunch of quick cutting or a crap load of close-ups to try to hide the fact that these actors don't know how to sword fight. You can tell they went through the training, and they do wider shots, and they hold on these shots. They don't do a bunch of quick cutting bullshit. They hold on these shots for a while so you can actually see the choreography, and it's well done. It's a lot of fun to watch. And the practical effects are very good. I can't say the same for the CGI, but we'll get to that in a second. And the score is pretty decent. It's nothing outstanding, but it is pretty good. And there are a few moments of clever editing throughout this movie, mostly involving the magic, but sometimes it even kind of reminded me of the Hyperions from last year, where it has some really clever, transitions between, not necessarily between scenes, but between locations in the same scene. But that being said, there's one thing that was pretty hit and miss, and that was the comedy. Now, the first 45 minutes of this movie, there were virtually no laughs. Not even just from me, but from the audience I was with. There was virtually no laughs throughout the first 45 minutes. There were a few moments that got a laugh out of me, but the first 45 minutes were mostly dead due to the comedic bits. But the rest of the movie, it got better. And this movie is filled to the brim with Chris Pine one-liners. Some of them are decent, some of them are like, okay, you're trying too hard, you didn't need to throw this in there. But it does work. 65 to 70% of the time, I'd say the comedy works. Unfortunately, there's one really bad thing in this movie, and that is that the CGI is laughably bad. Like, the creature designs and everything are really cool. I like the artistic design. I'm assuming they're faithful to the games. Again, I've never played them, and I don't know how many of these were in the original 3 movies. I haven't seen those in years because, ugh. And I haven't seen the 80s show in a while. Oh, speaking of the 80s show, and this isn't a spoiler because this was shown in a TV spot, there are characters who don't have lines or anything. They're kind of background characters, but not really. I can't really talk. I'll talk about when I get to the spoiler section, which will be pretty short, where it has a group of characters that are dressed like the characters from the 80s animated series. And I thought that was pretty cool. But again, back to the CGI, it is so bad. And again, maybe if this was like a $40 to $50 million picture, maybe I'd be able to let it go. It's like, okay, they're getting really ambitious with these, but they just maybe don't have the money to do it. But if that was the case, they just shouldn't have tried if they didn't have the money. But this movie had a budget of roughly $151 million. So there's I don't know why so many high-budget movies have such shit CGI. I don't know where the money is going, but it apparently isn't going into the special effects anymore, because they look awful. The green screens are so artificial. Whenever the creatures are up against the human, like whenever the hero's supposed to be like in danger, I found myself, I want to be invested here, but I'm too busy laughing at the bad CGI. So yeah, that was the one thing that brought this movie down. So now I'm going to get into spoilers because I'm just going to talk about some things in the end here. And, okay, so, yeah, you've got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Alright, I don't know why I used the back fingers. Whatever. So, like I said, there were characters from the 1980 show. There were the characters who they were with in the maze. So, like that group of characters that had the really, like, bright and colorful, uniform. So if you've never seen the 80s show, those are the characters I'm referring to. Now, there's 2 things I want to get into about the ending. One, I don't know what the villain's plan was. No, I know what the plan was. I don't know what the motivation was, though. Why did the villain want to turn these people into zombies? I looked up a synopsis, and it still didn't help me out. It just says, oh, the plan is to turn them into zombies, but why? I don't know if I missed something or if it just wasn't explained, but I had no idea why Safina was doing any of this. But whatever. And I do like how they defeat her. I do like how they outsmart her instead of they're not able to beat her in a fight, but they're able to outsmart her. I do really like that. It, again, reminded me of something like Doctor Strange. And there's one thing that happens in the end that I called right as it started happening. Now, Pine's entire, I think his name is Edwin, his entire motivation is to get this tablet that could bring his wife back to life. And at the end of the battle with Sofina, it's shown Rodriguez's character. Why can't I just watched this movie? Why can't I remember anybody's name? Oh, that's real annoying. But whatever, she has a blade stabbed like through the heart right here. The second I saw that, I immediately said, okay, they're gonna use the tablet to bring her back to life. Like, they're not gonna bring back his wife, they're gonna bring her back, and, oh, it's, Holga. That's what it is, Holga. That's her name. So yeah, she's, like, stabbed by a Red Wizard's blade. Simon says he can't do anything, but the second I saw that blade in her chest, I'm like, okay, she's gonna die, but they're gonna use the tablet to bring her back to life, and that's exactly what happens, so... that part was pretty predictable, but it was still fine. And I still like the ending. I like everything that happens afterwards. And the mid-credits scene was kind of funny. It didn't need to be there, but it was pretty funny. So, yeah, I definitely say go see this. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, you will love this movie. And even if you don't, if you're just looking for a fun fantasy movie, you'll definitely get it here. Again, this movie could have been looking at an A+ if it weren't for the god-awful CGI. And again, I might have been able to give it a pass if the budget was maybe a fifth of what it was, but it wasn't. Again, I talk about movies like Maze Runner that had a budget of $34 million, and the Grievers look so good in that, and the maze and everything looks outstanding. This movie had 5 times the budget, and it couldn't make any of the CGI look even remotely realistic. It all looked artificial, and it was distractingly bad, was the problem with the CGI. But other than that, this movie was a lot of fun. I'm giving Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves an A-. I did not expect to give this high of a score, but here we are. So thank you all so much for watching, and I've got more reviews. I've got the Premier Awards and the Golden Bronze Shear Awards coming up real soon, so I will see y'all then. Bye.